Hey everyone, welcome to the Sackhoff Show. I am your host, Katee Sackhoff. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday, April 15th. I am so excited for the guest this week. But first, I want to tell you to stick around for the hindsight after the episode where we talk about the guest and everything that I have going on in my life. And my producer and I, have a good time. It's quite fun. I highly suggest you check it out if you haven't done so. You can also send your comments and your questions to thesackoffshow@gmail.com. That's a great place to send those questions because we actually pull from them to talk about things in the hindsight. It's really great. You see how that works? It's all symbiotic. You send us emails, we talk about them in the hindsight, and it also brings up things that happened in the episode. It's really fun. So go ahead and send your questions, your comments, and just your general love for the show to thesackoffshow@gmail.com. I want to get into this week's episode because he is such a great human being. And you know this guest, sort of, because I've talked about him during the actual show, because we worked together on the Christmas sale. My guest this week is my friend Patrick Sabongui. We worked together and we met on the Christmas sale. He plays Luke, my love interest, in the Hallmark movie that my husband wrote. It's a super cute movie, and I suggest you watch the Christmas sale if you haven't done it. I know that we're in April, but there's always time for a Hallmark Christmas movie. He is also in The Flash. No, we didn't get to work together on The Flash, but he's on a new show called The Hunting Party. It's a fantastic show. The script was amazing. I highly suggest everybody check out The Hunting Party, which is airing right now. Hopefully they get some more episodes because it's just such a great show. Patrick started as a stuntman, so we talk about that a lot. Patrick actually talks about acting and teaching acting in such a way that my brain fully understood it, which is really crazy because he talks about acting and teaching acting from a physical movement type of place, being a stuntman. This is a really fun episode. So I hope you enjoy my friend, Patrick Sabongui. Hi.
Hey, buddy.
I haven't seen you for 3 years?
Has it been 3?
If my daughter is 3.5, it's been about 3.5 years.
Absolutely. Holy cow. That's how you mark time also, is your child's age? That's the only point of reference I have. Every other aspect of my life is just a blur.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh no, he was born, and so we had just moved to Vancouver. Like, I don't even know what city I'm in. I marked
until
that
you figure out how old they are.
How old they were at that time, yeah.
Yeah. BFC, like before children.
Before children, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Where are you right now?
I'm in Brooklyn. I'm actually in my office at Brooklyn College.
Oh, okay. I like it. Awesome.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about teaching, actually, because you have such an interesting career. We'd never worked together until Christmas sale.
Yes.
But talk me through how you ended up teaching, because you started in stunts and then you started acting and then you got into teaching. What's the actual timeline?
It's more muddled than that. Like, it's less linear than it sounds. I started in theater, really. I started on stage and doing local theater productions around Montreal, but I didn't have any formal training. So I went to theater school. I went to Concordia University. But that whole time leading up to that, I was training in martial arts, and I was athletic, and I was teaching right from the beginning of my undergrad theater training. I made this connection between martial arts and theater training. Like, we'd have movement classes for actors.
Right.
But I've been doing martial arts since I was 8, and I was like, I see what you mean, but there's like a more efficient and like effective way to get humans connected to their bodies. And so one of my buddies and I started doing these workshops for actors. Um, and I think through that, like, theater school, martial arts world, I kind of got connected to some stunt folks, like performance adjacent humans interested in taking, we called it the actor's body,
Hmm.
an athlete's perspective on self-expression, or some terrible over-articulated title, but that was the idea. And so I'd always identified as an actor first, and I
Mm-hmm.
was doing theater stuff, but without formal training. And then when I graduated from theater school, it's a lot easier, or it was at the time in Montreal, to pursue work in the stunt industry.
Hmm.
You can be a lot more proactive. It's about making connections. It's about training with the right folks.
Right.
It's about getting to know the stunt coordinators who do the hiring. And so the
Right.
whole time I was trying to pursue acting professionally, but like you got to like try to hunt down an agent. And once you get an agent, you got to get them to trust you. And then you got to sit on your ass and wait for an audition. And you get an audition, you got to wait for a casting director to like you. And then they like you, but they can't trust you with the role yet. So they got to bring
Right.
it's that whole rigmarole.
Right.
Whereas in stunts, they're like, you look like you could stand there and not blow the shot. Uh,
It always amazed me. Um, Joanna Bennett, who doubled me in Mandalorian, told me that she used to go down, find out, she would follow the signs with the arrows to productions, not even know what the production was. And you would go down, pretend like you were supposed to be there, and hand your headshot and resume to the stunt coordinator, figure out who he was. And that's how you made the connections. Like, that's not how actors make connections. Like, that
Can't
is
do that.
it. So I see what you mean when you're like, it's a very proactive thing. You basically put your ass in front of the stunt coordinator enough times, and eventually they hire you.
Yeah. I mean, it's about first getting exposure and then gaining their trust. They got to
Right.
know that they can count on you, because stunt folk, like, you're putting your safety in each other's hands.
Mm,
And at some levels, you're putting your life in the stunt team's hands. And so the stunt coordinator, they're looking for skill. They're looking for ultimately people that they can trust as part of the team. So hustling, that's what we call hustling, like
right.
infiltrating the
That's what she
set.
called it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's official. Like, that's the official term. You got to hustle,
You got to hustle.
hustle the set. You got to hustle the coordinator.
So
And
interesting.
I think that's the first inkling to the coordinators, that they're like, oh, you're resourceful. You've got tenacity. You've figured out who I am, how this set works, that you were able to
Hmm.
get to me and not walk through the shot on the way to me. Like, for you to be able to do that in a way that you haven't been removed by security, you haven't like
Yeah.
injured anybody and messed up the stunt. You know what I mean? Like, so
You're not
there's,
over there harassing Brad Pitt.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. That's so funny. So did you, because of your movement technique class that you guys were teaching, did you find, because of the way that you advertise it or the title of it, did you find a lot of athletes getting involved in theater, or people that wouldn't normally try theater going, oh, that sounds interesting?
Um, it was a crossover of theater kids who either were interested or had experience in martial arts, and athletes, martial artists, former Olympians, folks who had um, uh, a physical background, like a certain had reached a certain achievement, like a certain level of accomplishment in a physical discipline, who were trying to either get into stunts or get into acting.
Hmm.
So it's it was folks that had that crossover um, that we ended up connecting with. And then, to skip ahead, like, when we got to, my wife is also an actor, and we went to grad school together in California. When we moved to Vancouver and started teaching classes there, the first people to sign up were stunt folk, stunt
Hmm.
coordinators first. And because the stunt coordinators were taking our acting class, all the stunt performers started taking our acting
Of
class.
course.
Yeah. And so,
Because they were hustling through your acting class.
well, that's it. You got to
But
be where they're
also,
at.
yeah.
But also in our class, they started to realize what acting really was.
Mm.
At least from our perspective, you know, like it's not about performing and it's not about being a movie star. It's about telling a story. It's about bringing yourself to the story. And when stunt folk started learning, oh, this is what actors are doing on set, they began to gain an appreciation, but also began to acquire that skill set. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was just a really interesting creative playground where these ultra accomplished athletic performers who are super tough start to get in touch with their like storyteller artistry. And
Right.
that's kind of a whole other story, but that was an amazing process.
What was different about your movement class? Because the first time, because I'd never studied, and the first time I saw like an actor friend of mine like doing movement to get ready, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this looks so weird to me. I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it was so actory that I was like, what is happening? But
Yeah.
it's like, it is really important. I feel like a lot of people get to that in a different way. But I think it's the aspect, like what I'm trying to say is that I feel like your class would have intrigued me coming from being an athlete
Hmm.
where I didn't identify with the theater kids. I was like, what are they doing?
Yeah. Um, that's a really interesting question. And I don't know if your listener base if they're really kind of inside baseball with acting and acting theory. And I don't want
They
to get
love
too
the
nerdy about.
BTS shit. They
Yeah.
love it.
Okay, so for me, what was missing for me in a lot of that like hardcore actor movement stuff was any kind of like grounding in um, how do I express myself through this? And what I found in martial arts, so the martial art that I studied most when I was young was Hung Gar Kung Fu. Hung Gar
Hmm.
Kung Fu is based on 5 animal styles: tiger,
Okay.
snake, crane, leopard, dragon. And each animal has a different quality of movement. So tiger is like really kind of grounded and powerful. Crane is
Like Kung
very,
Fu Panda.
yes,
They they all
exactly
have a
like Kung Fu.
different just
Yeah.
kidding. But
No,
yeah, okay.
and I forget that that's the way into it these days. But yeah, so Hongar Kung Fu is basically a Kung Fu Panda mentality.
Okay.
But when you study the art form, you are encouraged to like channel that animal's movement quality, and there's vocalizations that go with a lot of them. So you're now
Hmm.
connecting your body to the image of the animal, and also connecting your vocal expressiveness to the quality of that animal, uh, and intention. You know,
Okay.
you're not just moving through space. Like when you're doing you're like you visualize, you know, knocking the hands open and then like gripping the chest and whatever. So there's intention, imagination, connection, expressiveness, and it's all connected through your body, your mind, and for me the spirit is expressed through vocalizations, vibration.
Huh.
So for me, and Kevin, who was co-teaching the actor movement class, it was finding connections in martial arts that connected your whole body to intention, and gave you like a repeatable process to center yourself, get focused on what your intention is in the scene or in, you know, in the circumstance, and then use all of those elements of connection and focus to to put yourself into the role.
Huh. Do you So intriguing. Do you float between the different animals? Is your animal chosen for you? How do you come to that animal?
Um, well, and this is, you know, a lot of actors use this kind of mentalities. Like as you're analyzing the script, you look at your character and you try to imagine what qualities do I see in this character, or for me, it's what a character is defined by what they're willing to do to get what they want.
Okay.
So in defining that for myself, right? Um, like villains tend to be willing to use violence and coercion and manipulation and uh, you know very aggressive tactics to get what they want. So if I'm identifying that in the character and I'm like, oh, this character is really kind of shifty and uh, hard to pin down and duplicitous, and then when they see what they want, they'll like they'll get it. And that can be played out in dialogue and how they move through a scene, where they're lurking, where they make themselves known. And I'm like, ooh, that's kind of snaky. Maybe there's a snakiness to that. Now maybe that's how I sit and that's how I think. And now in channeling physically, vocally, and even with intention and focus, maybe my character's a snake.
Oh my God, I fucking love this, Patrick. So, wow, that's so interesting. I feel like I've learned more about acting and method in like 5 seconds from you than any teacher could have ever taught me.
That's
It
hilarious.
makes so much sense to me. But I always, the first acting class I ever took, I watched the teacher sort of break an actor down and like destroy them, only then to bring them back up. And I never went back to acting class. I was like, if this is what this is, I don't want any part of it. I'll just fake it.
Yeah, you did the right
and
thing.
then through being on set, I sort of started learning and things like that. But I've never really had a method or quantified what I do. I just sort of like do it. But I've always felt like there was something that not that was missing, but that's I wish I had a technique in order to inhabit and come up with the physicality of a character, because that's always the hardest part for me. How does my character move? Strip away Katee and how does the character move? That has always been the hardest part for me, possibly because of my ADHD and I constantly move my hands in characters. So I have a hard time taking myself out of them. I wonder if that would work for me.
I mean, yeah, and I think technique exists for when you can't just intuit the part. Stanislavski famously said that. But faking it till you make it, or just following your intuition and stepping into it works for a lot of people. And I think technique exists for those times when you need a little inspiration, where you get a note that you're like, oh, I actually don't have an idea off the top of my head on how to respond to this. Or you look at a part and you're like, it's asking something of me that I can't just come up with. That's when I think a technique and a process can be helpful. I'm not one of those folks that thinks, I mean, don't tell my students this, but I don't think, like, once you figured it out, that you need to do the script analysis and the breakdown and the character sketch and the backstory and the what animal am I and where am I leading from my, like, those things exist as a tool when you need a tool. If you're doing demolition in your house, right, and you got to just push this wall down, if you could just push the wall down, push it down.
Yeah.
You don't have to get the jigsaw and unscrew everything and start to like peel off the wallpaper. No, man, if you can push the wall down, push it down.
Right.
But now if you try to push and you can't, and you need some tools, actor training gives you the tools that, that you might be able to, that might be helpful. And it gives you that confidence, right? Like, yeah.
Is there one of your skill sets that you enjoy the most between acting, teaching, and, I mean, you don't really do stunts anymore, but I would imagine you bring some of that to your characters.
Look, from like the division of labor is like other people's department. What I love is playing a physical character. I mean, I love working. I love being part of all kinds of stories, but I think where I'm at my most free and most in my element are characters who aren't afraid of like physical engagement, action, violence, all of that stuff. And I'll do as much of it as is safe and is allowed. right? Like, I I tend to do a lot of my own physical stuff. Uh, so I say the division of labor is like not my department, because where does it become a stunt and where is it actor action? There's like, the industry has kind of divided those things up, and rightfully so, because I have to, like, hats off to stunt performers. Like, as actors, we're very rarely putting our lives on the line, and stunt folks do that regularly. And the amount of training and discipline and, skills that stunt people make it a job to acquire is incredible. And one of the greatest honors of my life is having been considered among them. Ex-Olympic athletes, ex-professional athletes, ex-Formula One drivers, what do? They come to film and they do that stuff on film. And so, like, to be counted among that community is one of the greatest honors of my life. So I don't want to take away from what they do. And, but for me, if I'm able to engage in like physical stuff on set, I think that's where I'm most immersed.
Yeah. How the heck did you and I end up in a Christmas movie?
That was all you.
Right?
Yeah, I know.
But like that was like
yeah.
Neither. I had one little tiny stunt and I turned it. It wasn't even a stunt. It was a tiny fall and I turned it into a stunt. And they were like, oh God. Because I was like, I need to do something.
Yeah. I think when you're engaged that way, it's like so much more fun. The day goes faster.
Oh God, it really does.
Yeah. I love that Christmas. I love that Christmas movie, by the way. I'm so grateful for that experience. It was, and my mom was thrilled, and yeah, it was so fun.
I love it. Yeah. Well, we had talked about I think the first time we met, or maybe I knew this during the hiring process, but that you had never been cast as the leading man in a Hallmark movie, and this was the first one.
Yeah.
Has there been more since then?
Yeah, I did a couple others. I had been in the Hallmark world a couple of times, but the kind of mean boss, or the funny friend, or like the neighbor buddy at the bakery or whatever. And I loved being part of that world, partly because you're not putting yourself in a dark headspace all day. The hours are reasonable. It's always bright and sunny, and it's just a wonderful environment to work in. But there's a certain aesthetic, and I don't know if it's age. I don't know if it's my heritage. I don't know what all the goes into all those decisions, but like, there's definitely a type for the male leading man in those Hallmark movies, and I wasn't the conventional guy that fit that mold. And then along came Christmas Sale and Your Belief in Me and whatever that was, and maybe it was the cultural moment we were in also, where the industry was looking at expanding what the notion of a leading man can look like.
Right.
And then, after that, I shaved the beard, curled the hair, and it was like I became the Tony Shalhoub Hallmark lookalike guy, which is a great honor as well. Shout out to Mr. Shalhoub. So I love it. I love being part of that universe.
So you bring up like your cultural heritage, which is an interesting thing, because so many of my friends have mentioned sort of something similar that you talked about, in the sense where you are ambiguous something that the industry can't quite put their finger on where you exist. So they sort of put you in the stereotypical box of, the guy who's the baddie, the guy who, is playing a stereotypical role based on what you look like. Did you find that? And how did you navigate that sort of aspect of the business?
Man, that's a very interesting question, I think. And I want to be careful not to generalize for other actors. My journey's been very specific, and it has been a something I'm constantly conscious of. And So I'm Egyptian. My
Right.
heritage is Egyptian, and uh, I think the industry has categories that it's familiar with. There's obviously the dominant culture, and then there's the visible minority category, and depending where the film is made, uh, race and identity fall into certain paradigms. Uh, and there are certain cultures that are either actively sidelined or just never considered, you know? And I think Middle Eastern, North African actors have a very specific category that's
Mm.
usually erased.
Hmm.
Asian characters are often relegated to stereotypes and existing paradigms. Um, so, you know, for me coming up in the industry, and this actually overlaps with my career as a stunt performer, I was coming up on either side of 9/11,
Right.
September 11, 2001. My identity, or what my identity means to the world around me, changed that day.
Yeah.
There's a joke in the Arab community about we went to bed white, on September 11th, woke up September 12th brown, and
Yeah.
now we're like, oh, am I white? I'm not white. My brother might be white, but because I rock a beard, I'm not white. And then it took a minute for the industry to like figure out where to place us. And look, full disclosure, man, because I was an action guy and starting out in my acting career, I knew I was like, well, there's going to be a lot of like Arab bad guys now. I'm about to
Right.
work a lot,
Right.
and look, in my defense, I was young and eager to work, and those roles existed, and somebody was going to have to fill them, and I didn't shy away from that.
Of course
You
not.
know,
You still want to work as an actor when you're or a stunt performer if you're trying to establish yourself. I think people think sometimes from the outside looking in at an actor's life that you reach a certain point or you start out at a certain point where you have the luxury of choice and you don't. You even if you get to a point where you are working consistently and you've been in this industry for 20 years, you still have to work. You take jobs when they come to you because you need to, support your family or qualify for your health insurance or pay your rent or,
yeah,
work so people don't think you've not worked for 2 years. You know what I mean? Like there are many different reasons for that. So I completely understand that. And you saw an
yeah,
opportunity too.
yeah. And look, I think actors take a lot of heat for the characters they play, and I don't
Mm,
think your average audience member understands that, like what you just said, we got to work. I didn't write this shit. I
mhm.
didn't produce this shit. I might not even agree with it, um, but it's a job.
Yeah.
um, and now with social media, the way like everybody, it's democratized everybody's opinion, and so the actor being out there as the public figure to this role takes all the heat, and uh, and I think sometimes that's unfair,
Yeah.
and I don't criticize, like I did get to a place in my career or in my life where I do other jobs to support myself for that reason, so that I can have the luxury of choice. I
Mm,
still don't all the time, and I can't rewrite characters that have been written for me. I can advocate for myself and advocate for people who look like me and advocate for my community, but my influence only goes so far. And I'm certainly not going to fault any other actors who have to fill those roles. We still have to tell stories about terrorists and
mhm.
about bank robbers and and muggers, and my hat comes off to like any actor who's willing to step in and illuminate the darkest parts of our humanity. That's a necessary. You can't have a film industry where everybody's a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah.
They can't all be Hallmark movies. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, and within my career, I have turned down some jobs, and I have taken some jobs that I then turned around and tried to undermine the stereotype as much as I could.
Mm. Right, right, right.
And to be honest, this was a conscious thing too. At first, I shamelessly took every terrorist role, put a bomb on me, I'm gonna blow shit up, throw me out of a building, gun me down in the streets, like, let's do it. put
Right.
me in a desert, throw dirt on my face with a scarf, and like, let's go.
Right.
You know, I gained a little maturity, a little perspective, and I was like, ooh, I actually want to start making stuff that like my family can be proud of, or like my aunties, you know, it can watch me and like not always make that same joke of, oh, here he is, the terrorist again.
Right.
So I started to accept roles where I saw the opportunity to infuse that character with a little bit more humanity, a little bit more
Right.
vulnerability, and like,
Right.
and do the best possible job. Cause I'm like, if I'm stuck in a type category, the only way out is through the top. So I'm going to do the best job I can and like outgrow this type category by doing the best possible job I could. And I think you know, I got stuff like 24, E-Ring back in the day. And those were conscious choices to like, I'm going to make this character, or even, what was it? With Clive Standen, Taken, you know, it was another suicide bomber vest, but my character was actually the victim and he'd been forced into that vest. But like, I had said, I'm not doing any more. I don't need any more images of me or people who look like me in a suicide bomber vest.
Right.
But I took that role because I was like, it actually undermines the stereotype. Ultimately, what I wanted to get to is where I'm at now. And the character looks like me. The character shares my heritage, but I don't know nobody who's a terrorist. I have
Right.
nothing to do with, I'm not a former terrorist. I'm not a counterterrorism expert. I'm not the
Right.
infiltrator. Like, I'm not a translator. I'm just some guy who works for the CIA
Right.
or FBI or is a cop or freaking is, you know, fixes sailboats.
Right.
It just happens to look like me. Like, that's ultimately where I wanted to get to.
So you bring up Hunting Party, and I'm glad that you did. I wanted that part so bad.
My part, I don't know. There was
Nah, well, yeah, it was
yeah,
tough. It was tough.
yeah,
They
it
were like,
was, yeah.
we went a different
You
direction.
needed the beard, yeah. Couldn't rock the
No,
beard.
I read that script and was
Yeah.
like, God, this is fucking
Oh,
good. This is
yeah,
good. And she's
yeah,
good. She's so
yeah.
perfect. Remind me
Melissa's
of her
dope.
name again.
Melissa Roxburgh.
Thank you.
Yeah.
From the Manifest.
Manifest. That's right.
Yes. So
Yes.
phenomenal. But that script, God,
Yeah.
it's such a cool, clever idea. So for people in the audience who don't know what Hunting Party is, give them the Cliff's Note version of the show.
So it's a new high concept procedural drama on NBC. It's like in the 10 p.m. slot, a little bit darker. We're on Monday nights, right after The Voice. But the concept is that there is this team of elite criminal hunters who chase down some of the worst serial killers in history. The setup is that there is a ultra secretive underground prison complex that's not supposed to exist that houses all of the serial killers that we thought had been sentenced to death. Turns out some shady government operation was staging their deaths, but keeping them alive in the pit, which is this prison. In episode 1, we start with a massive prison break. So all these serial killers are loose.
Was it a bomb that went off or something? An earthquake? Something like that?
It was a bomb.
Yeah.
It was a bomb. That may or may not have been accidental.
Right.
We're pretty sure right from the beginning that it wasn't an accident. And so that's it. So every week there's a new serial killer for us to hunt down. And then the overarching story, at least in season 1, is like, what the hell happened? Who wanted these prisoners free? And what are the secrets that the pit is actually concealing? I play Jacob Hassani, who's like a government spook CIA operative. One of my favorite things is like every episode, and we kind of do it on the slide, but like if you pay attention, every time he introduces himself at a new crime scene, he's like with a different government agency. He never says CIA, like Department of Defense, Homeland Security, with the local DA's office. Like this, he's just always some different government agency.
I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
I love that. Was that part of the script to begin with, or was that something that you infused into it?
No, that was something they put in, and they actually printed different badges for me to use every episode. And And it's kind of subtle too. Like they don't feature it. It's not like push in on the Department of
Yeah.
Defense badge. It's like just kind of running in the background that he doesn't want anybody to know what agency
Right.
he's actually with. And I team up with Melissa Roxborough's character, who's a sidelined FBI criminal profiler who wants to get back in the game, and because she's kind of off the grid, as they say, she's able to join this like super secretive little task force. It's me, Melissa, and then Josh McKenzie plays Shane Florence, who was a prison guard at the pit, who joins the team to get a little insider information. Nick
Does he
Wexler
get beat up on the way out? I don't remember in the pilot. It's been so long since I read it.
He's part of the recovery effort.
Yes, that's why.
Trying to rescue folks from the rubble of the explosion.
Yes.
But he mentions that he saw when he was like getting out of the rubble after the explosion, he saw what the inmates did to other guards.
Yes. And that's why he wants to be on the team.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Okay. And Nick Wexler.
Wexler plays. He was Melissa's character's Bex Henderson is her character's name. Bex's former FBI profiler partner, who is now the warden of the pit. And so he holds down kind of headquarters, and he like dispatches and kind of runs the operation. There's a bit of a power struggle between he and I, between my character and his character, who's actually running the show.
Okay.
And then Sarah Garcia plays Jennifer Morales, who's our tech analyst and information gatherer back in headquarters.
Yeah, where do you guys film?
Cool. We film in Vancouver.
Of course.
Ironically enough, of course. Yeah, I lived in Vancouver for 15 years, for those who don't know. Moved to Brooklyn, partly to do this job, but also to get back on stage. And then I booked this series that's shooting back in Vancouver.
Of course, because that's the irony. Yeah, everyone always my agents used to say when I wanted a job, they were like, book a vacation. Book a non-refundable vacation and you will book a job. And it 100%. Without fail, always happened. I still haven't been to Italy. It's been like 12 years. Tickets? I bought tickets. I keep rolling over these lakes. Yeah. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. How many episodes did you guys do?
We did 10.
Okay.
We did a cool... they did an early release, like January 19th, during the semifinal NFL playoff games.
Okay.
They aired episode 1, and this was a surprise to us. We thought the premiere was always going to be February 3rd, but they aired it right after one of the semifinal games.
Okay.
Or quarterfinal games, which was so cool because I'm a huge Saquon Barkley fan.
Yeah.
And they aired it kind of right after the Eagles game, so I got to watch Saquon tear it up, and like during the game, here comes my voice with on the commercial for Hunting Party.
There were so many commercials. That's why I was like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I love that job. Yeah. And then I saw you and I went, fuck yes. Because I had read it and I was like, oh my God, Robin.
Yeah.
So I was so excited to see you in it because I wanted an excuse to watch the show. So
I'm sorry it didn't go your way. That
happens.
That could have been cool too.
It
does,
happens,
right?
Man.
And I wonder
it happens all the time.
I wonder if people realize, like, you have a huge fan base and this incredible body of work, but I wonder if like fans really know that the hustle never ends. Like the grind never stops. They could be watching you on TV today while you're like cramming for an audition because you need the job and this audition's tomorrow, and everybody's like, oh my God, your new show. And you're like, that money's gone. Paid taxes. I bought these tickets to Italy that I was never able to use. All that money's gone. Like, I'm glad you're watching it tonight, but I'm applying for a new job tomorrow because I'm essentially unemployed.
Well, I also think that people don't understand, and we talk about this so much on the show, because I wish that people could understand that they hate when I talk about how the life of an actor is so hard because you're like you just mentioned, you have a job, people think you're wildly successful, but you're now searching for another job. People are like, yeah, well, Katee, I hate how you make your life sound so hard because everybody has to go to work. Everybody has a boss, everybody this. And I'm like, yeah, how many times in your life do you extensively get fired or your job ends and you then have to go out and get another job? You may do that how many times in your life? I'm going to be like really favorable to that and say what, 10, maybe 15 times in your life. And that's like if like you had shit luck. 15 times in your life you've had to go find another job. We do it every month, every day, every year. I mean, every single job you get and it ends, you go get another one.
Yeah.
We're constantly being fired or a job is ending and we're getting another one. Teachers the school year doesn't end and they don't have to audition for their job the next year. So yeah, I understand every job and every person's profession is difficult and challenging for other reasons and very unique reasons. But being an actor and constantly having to hustle is one of the hardest aspects of this career, and it never stops.
Yeah. And you are the product. Like, it's not like I have a job selling vacuum cleaners and somebody goes, your vacuum cleaners kind of suck. You're not going to take that as personally. But every time you don't get hired, there's a part of you going, well, am I just shitty now? Like, am I just not good at, like, is my product, which is me, just terrible? And so there's like this insecurity that creeps in and this desperation and that actually contaminates the work itself. And
Absolutely.
now you smack of desperation in your audition, or this show is ending and you're like, well, if I show them how tough I am in this role, maybe it'll get me the next role. Now you're contaminating this performance with the desperation of auditioning for your next job while you're still doing this job.
100%.
It's a brutal cycle, and you can't compare apples and oranges, man. Everybody's life has complications and, some people do have much harder lives than we do, much harder jobs. I also couldn't, folks who work shift work and they're on their feet all day and they got to get up and do it again tomorrow. And really the goal is to do this exact same job for 30 years.
Yeah.
The amount of admiration I have for people who have that steadiness, no matter, and it's tough, but to get up and do it all over again and to be in that routine, got to make breakfast for the kids, make their lunches, go work this job that I kind of hate, and I kind of hate my coworkers, and and then I got to come home, make dinner, and then do it all over again, 5 days a week for 30 years. Like that's incredible to me.
Yeah, I think that going into the arts is an incredibly rewarding thing because of all the difficulties that I've talked about for our profession. I still get to go to work every day and do the thing that feeds my soul to such a depth I can't even explain,
Yeah. And we get to do it more often than most, man. Most actors out there are, they aren't necessarily working every year.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not auditioning regularly. And then now 6 months have gone by. They've been working their day job. They finally got an audition in 6 months. And they got to play it off like, oh yeah, audition, no big deal. Maybe I get it. Maybe it changes my life. Maybe I get to be on this, tour of Aladdin, or maybe not. Maybe I just go back to my job again. But it's the one audition I've had in 6 months, and you got to still find a way to not overdo it,
overthink it.
Yeah, it's ruthless.
So, with all of that being said, how did you support your son wanting to go into the same business?
He had a different relationship to getting into acting than most folks. It wasn't really a focus or priority for him. He got interested in it because it was something that wasn't terribly hard for him. I'm in the industry. My wife, Kira Zagorski, is also an actor. We made a short film that Kira wrote and directed, and I produced. That we put both of our kids in. I did created a new play that we did in Vancouver. We threw Bodhi in there. So both of the kids have been adjacent to the industry and the craft. And so it wasn't this oh, mom, dad, I want to get into acting. Can I sign me up for acting classes? When we saw that he had a talent for it, he would work with us. We put him in some acting classes. Some were more successful than others. We're kind of picky about the training that actors get. I'm not down with the story you shared with acting teachers stripping people down. I think that's harmful and absolutely unnecessary. Shout out, this is a word to anybody interested in acting. If an acting teacher ever makes you feel bad or less than or inadequate, leave that class immediately. Acting should be fun and playful and should bring out the best in you. No one should ever make you feel bad for who you are. Lesson number one. Bodhi started auditioning and had some success early on. He had some good guidance, and it wasn't like this pursuit that he had to chase down. So it's there for him when he wants it. He works really hard when the opportunities come up. He studies when he needs to, but he does have other priorities in life. He's a football player. He wants to play ball.
How old is he now?
He's 17. He's 6'2", 190. He runs a 4.5. Starts both ways at safety and receiver. Just a little plug for my son and coaches out there looking for, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's his focus in life. He wants to go to college, play ball, and end up in the NFL.
Really?
He still auditions, puts it out there, but to be honest, he'll read something and he's like, when does this shoot? Does it conflict with football season?
So he's got two very easy professions lined up, obviously.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Both sure things. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So is this his senior year?
Yeah. He just finished his senior season. He's actually going to do a post-grad year before going to college because he's always been the youngest. He's his birthday's early November, so he's that kid that was always the youngest in class by far. And he's still growing, still filling out. So he's going to take one more year of development, and then he's got a couple offers already, But I think one more year, more tape, filling out, and he'll get the offers that he's looking for.
My cousin played in the NFL for 10 seasons as a tackle. Big unit. He's a big unit.
Yeah.
And he did that. He did
post-grad after high school.
He put on, I don't know if he did post-grad or if he redshirted his freshman year, but he did it purposefully because he was smaller and he needed to get some more size. It was a conscious decision for him to give himself more time.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if he took it off the back of high school or the front of college. I don't quite remember.
Right.
But it that 1 year, people don't realize, we talk about this with our daughter because her birthday's December 6th. So we have an option. She's going to be the oldest in her class or the youngest. And for a girl, our decision, now granted, people change their minds all the time, but the thought process we have was one I learned from my brother-in-law who said, do you want your daughter to be in the car or driving the car? And I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense because she would either be the oldest in her class or she will be 14 when her classmates are 16.
Yeah.
That's it. That makes a huge difference. And so I was like, oh yeah, do I really want my daughter who's a freshman, who's 13 or 14? I don't know. In my mind, I was like, yeah, that actually makes complete sense. Makes complete sense. Give them another year to grow. Give them another year to become a little bit more mature, and academically they will excel. And I think that I read a study that said that kids that are actually start later do better in school because they're actually older than everyone in their class.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
Sense.
Yeah. So we went the other way around because I was like, well, let's, let's challenge them intellectually as much as possible,
Yeah.
as early as possible, and then leave room for
Which is
expansion.
the thing you have to question, because if your kid is really smart, you don't necessarily want to hold them back, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So do you guys know, I want to go back to hunting party. Do you know if you
Oh yeah.
guys got your back 9 yet? Or back 8 or back whatever it is?
We know nothing. We know that fans are loving it so far. Both times we premiered that first episode, we got a bunch of viewers. People are talking about it, but we don't know if we got a back 8. We don't know if we got season 2 yet. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is new territory for me too. Like being, one of the
Have
lead
you ever
cast and things.
been a lead cast member on a network show?
No. I've been a series regular before, but not on a network show, and not part of the team that's there every day.
Yeah.
I'm there every day. Melissa, Josh, and I are kind of the away team, and so this is kind of a new leadership role for me too that I learned. Like, oh, when you're there every day, you kind of like set the tone and set the culture of like
Yeah.
what you want this operation to be. And so I feel way more attached to this show than like any other TV series that I've been on, for sure.
Yeah. What have you learned about it being one of the main cast that's there every day that surprises you?
The endurance,
Mm.
the endurance that's necessary, and how much of a trickle down effect there is. Like if the lead cast is ornery and annoyed by everything and exhausted and depleted, and let everybody see that, I think it gives other people permission to behave that way too.
Yeah.
And so luckily, Melissa, Josh, and I get along famously, and we
Great.
actually crack each other up all the time, and we fuck around a lot. We joke around, we're constantly making each other crack up. Hopefully not to the detriment of the production, but like,
I'm sure they'll let you know.
Yeah. But any free moment, like we do really kind of support each other and energize each other.
Yeah.
And those days where you just don't feel like being there, or you just feel exhausted, we're there to lift each other up.
Yeah.
And I think that creates an environment where people want to come to work. Like even our boom op is like, you guys are hilarious. Like I love coming to work, and because
like
you guys crack me up.
when the boom microphone is shaking because he's laughing so hard.
Yeah.
It's true though. There is a tremendous responsibility and oftentimes pressure when you're one of the lead cast to set the tone.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've both worked on shows where that was not the case. And you are right. If the main cast is miserable or they don't get along, it makes you're walking on eggshells.
Yes.
All day long. And you would be amazed that if you have a bad attitude and you come to work in a bad frame of mind, how quickly you can pull the crew down with you.
Yep.
How quickly you can do it. And it's not fair, and it's hard to be around. So it's so refreshing when you're working with people that A, want to be there, 2, are appreciative of the opportunity that they have, and 3, understand the responsibility and that it's their job to set that tone and keep the crew happy, because the crew works harder than, Jesus. The crews in film work so hard.
So hard. And it's thankless, and nobody sees it, nobody appreciates it. And they're there before everybody, and they leave after everybody else. And then, and the balance also of like, we're not just camp counselors in charge of morale, but like you also set the tone in terms of professionalism. Do you come prepared? Are you ready to
fully memorized?
Fully memorized, at least.
Yeah.
At least. That's like just the ante. And then are you adding? Are you taking it further? Are you actually engaged in the scene? Because I've noticed when the morale is up, but then the work is like an afterthought, that also erodes the crew's enthusiasm for the scene.
Yes.
But when we're on a bubble and everybody's laughing, and then the work starts, and it's like, oh, actually, could we go again real quick? I just thought of this thing because she said this and he did that thing. I remember in the other scene you did, and like everybody's like, oh wait, they're connecting dots and they're adding value and they're like excited about the material too, I
Yeah.
think that elevates everything.
Yeah.
From the directors to the writers to the producers to the crew. Now the
Yep.
crew's talking to you about the scene, and like,
Yeah.
what does Hassani actually know? Does he
Yeah.
need? And now they're like asking, like, I read the next episode, and you know, and that's a really fun environment where there's a
Yeah.
balance of professionalism and morale.
Yeah. 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 Because I don't think that people, like the crew as well, like when the crew's talking to me or they are like, what happened in this scene? Or what do you think about this scene? Or is this going to happen? Or whatever. That then makes me go, oh my God. Oh, I never thought about that. Oh,
Yes.
maybe. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Maybe. I never. Oh, because they're the audience.
Yes.
The crew is the audience perspective. I didn't see that. I didn't see that scene like that. Okay, well, maybe now that is an option. Maybe I can lean into that a little bit and take that this way. So much fun when that's the environment. So much fun.
Yep. And you know, little parenthetical, and this is why you have to read the whole script. A lot of actors come, they've read just their stuff, you know?
I hate that.
And they
Oh
haven't
my
read,
God.
like, not let alone the whole script. Like maybe they didn't even read the whole scene. They just read, I only got this 2 lines, so I'm waiting for you to say that. And I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say this.
The
and
bullshit, my line.
Yeah. It is so frustrating and so insulting to everybody else. It's just a pet peeve of mine.
Oh no, big pet peeve of mine. I worked on Longmire. If the guest cast didn't show up memorized and prepared, they were let go.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
It was like,
Quality
or at the
control.
very least, not asked back.
Wow.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched them let someone go at lunch one time.
They'd rather reshoot those scenes than carry on.
Yeah. Well, because what they got was unusable anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, unusable if they've got a quality standard. Some, you know, we've both been on shows that they're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's totally fine. It's fine. I can't tell that they're reading their dialogue off their phone. It just looks like they're texting. Don't worry about it.
Well, yeah.
This has been amazing, but I do one thing. I'm going to ask a question. It's out of a box, so it's a complete rando. I have no idea what it's going to be.
Okay.
So these are the ones I've asked already. Okay.
What is this box, though? What is...
Well, it used to be a box of sex questions, but that got really inappropriate really fast.
Okay, gotcha.
Let's do this. What do you wish was more socially acceptable?
Huh. That's a really loaded question right now.
It is.
It is thought-provoking. It is provoking thought in me. What do I wish was more socially acceptable?
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one. You know what? I think it was more socially... Okay, I have an answer.
Yeah.
Fucking making mistakes.
Oh, that's a good one.
Like, you can't make mistakes anymore.
That's a good one.
You can't post a stupid joke. You can't speak your mind and then change it. You can't hold an opinion and then share it, realize how antiquated it is, learn, change, and then, you know, have a different opinion. Like, we're just not allowed anymore.
Yeah.
To make any mistakes.
Any mistake whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that one. Yeah. Because it used to be, you know, the whole adage, I've learned from my mistakes. That's how I've grown. You know, I literally texted a friend of mine the other day because they're a first-time parent, and I made the joke and I said, you know, let me know if you need any parenting advice. I've made all the mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's sort of a joke. Like, I've learned what not to do.
Yeah.
Because you're allowed, you know, but we don't allow people to make mistakes anymore because we hold people to their worst mistake. And that's not necessarily right.
And like, even when it comes to parenting, like, you know, you're supposed to read all the books and you're supposed to like follow all of the rules and the guidelines, and people are judging everybody about their parenting. And, you know, your kid has a tantrum at the grocery store. It's no longer just, that parent's having a hard time. Did you see how he spoke to his child? Like, yeah, maybe I done fucked up. I did a
Yeah.
stupid thing. I was emotional,
I
and
didn't throw a pineapple at her, Tina.
yeah,
Like,
I
I just
missed.
lost my cool.
I threw it near her. I totally missed.
Relax. I paid for it.
Yeah. But that's it. Like, and I think it has to do with, like we said, the democratization of the critic, of the opinion. Everybody can post their opinion. And now we're expected to like be virtue signaling all the time. Everything I do, everything I think, everything I believe is absolutely infallible. And yeah, man, it's stressful, and it makes people just, I don't know, it makes me just not want to participate and just not go in public then.
It's true. It's so true. It's so true. And I'm so tired of the like, let me do good and record it. That's like one of and it's the virtue signaling thing that people do where, every good deed must be filmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with you. That's a good one. Great answer. Great answer.
Yeah, thank you.
So NBC hunting party.
Yep.
Mondays at 10?
Mondays at 10 p.m. Can I plug another thing real quick?
Please.
I just, so a film that I shot was recently released. It's called Between Borders. And it's an indie feature about, it's based on a true story of an Armenian refugee family whose family left Armenia, and then they settled in Azerbaijan in a town called Baku. And then there's an uprising of Armenian persecution in Azerbaijan. And then they fled to Volgograd, Russia. And then the same thing happened there. There was like Armenian persecution in Russia. And then this particular family ended up coming to America on a visit. And then when they got here, applied for asylum. Huh. So it's this true story that's kind of shedding light on not just the Armenian genocide, but the like perpetual persecution and fleeing they have to do just to find a home. And so the film was released in theaters around the country. Okay. It was on a couple thousand screens, and it's coming out. It'll be streaming on March 4th, like on all the major streamers. So it's Between Borders.
Between Borders, okay.
Yeah, it was.
It sounds interesting.
Sorry, my chair just collapsed. Yeah, it was super interesting. It was, and for me to like the release process was really exciting too, because I got to go to spend the premiere with the actual family that I played. Oh, wow. They settled in West Virginia. And so I spent the week there doing a series of events and watching the movie with them in their community.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, maybe you're going to turn into a superhero.
Madam Web.
Yeah,
already.
Maybe.
Awesome. Oh, I'm going to check that out next. It was nice to talk to you, though.
It was great to talk to you. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to The Hindsight. Thank you so much for sticking around. I'm so excited that you are here, and I am equally as excited for my producer, Jeff, to be here. Hi, Jeff.
I don't know why I didn't believe you when you said you were excited, but...
I am excited. Hi.
Hi,
how are
Katee.
you? I can't see your face right now because I've got it open to our little talking page, but there you are. Hi.
Hi, Katee. How are you?
I'm good.
How was, it's been we're a little couple of weeks off here, but you were just in Kansas City?
I was just in Kansas City, and I am headed to Pittsburgh this weekend. I find it really funny that I'm headed to Pittsburgh because not only did I make the same mistake, but my agent made the same mistake when we booked our tickets to go to Pittsburgh because it's called Steel City Comic-Con. We both bought our tickets to where, Jeff? Detroit. Both of us did the same thing. And we both were like, wait a second, we're going to Pittsburgh, not Detroit. Detroit is Motor City.
Motor City, yeah.
Pittsburgh is Steel City. See, It makes complete sense when you say it like that.
Yeah.
I figured it out myself.
Yeah.
So someone didn't have to go, Katee, you just got a ticket to Detroit. I looked at the ticket to Detroit and went, I don't think this makes sense.
I'm glad you worked that out.
I'm just heading to that one this weekend.
Yeah. All right. Well, is that a thing where by the time people are listening to this right now, you've already been?
It will have been the weekend before.
Yeah. So sorry, everyone in Pittsburgh,
sorry,
if you
guys.
missed her.
We're a week off.
Yeah.
We're a week off. It was my birthday weekend, which has already happened, but had not happened. So it's this weird, like, Doctor Who thing that's happening right now. Is that my birthday has happened, but it actually hasn't happened.
Yes. So I have already wished you happy birthday, but I also have not actually wished you happy birthday yet. So we live in the liminal space between your birthdays.
We do. I can't believe I'm 45. I don't want to talk about it
But
anymore.
you're not 45.
But I'm not.
But you are 45.
I close.
Close enough. We gotta
close, but no cigar.
Stop giving away the behind the scenes here thing. We're supposed to pretend like it is April 15th right now.
I know. This is what the whole thing that Jon Favreau says. Don't tell people how the sausage is made.
Well, you might have just gave me a great segue because there's something I wanted to ask you. Might as well just get it off the top here. Because when we're preparing for these, every once in a while, I will Google you just to see if there's any news or anything like this. And this is something that I missed on the last one. But when we were in Indiana, there was a little bit of news that that was made by you, or lack of news, really, about the Mandalorian movie. And the phrase that you said is, I have not been in the armor in 2025, which sounds very cryptic.
It does, but it's also just really funny.
Yeah.
I think it's, this is one of those things, and this is why we choose to, and we, meaning the proverbial we just don't talk about it, because the clickbaity news cycle will make something out of nothing.
Yeah.
So basically what had happened was that we joke all the time, especially Emily and I, we did so on this podcast, that there are so many different ways for me to avoid answering a question or just straight up lie to people about my involvement with anything Star Wars related.
Yeah.
That sometimes you just come up with a different way to say, I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
And that's all I did, was I came up with a new way to say, go fuck yourself. Which was, I've not been in the armor in 2020 since 2020 in 2025, which I find hysterical because 2025 was at the time 2 months old.
Right. Right. Well, that's the whole thing, is people are then speculating. They're like, well, they must have shot the movie in 2024, so therefore she's confirmed she's in the movie.
It's just, I find it very funny. And then people have said, my new one now is, you have not seen the last of her.
It's also just like you manifesting in a way, right?
Well, or it's the truth. Like, you may have her action figure at home.
Yeah.
You haven't seen the last of her.
Yeah.
Like,
There's
you know what
lots
I
of
mean?
things.
Like, because I can't, it's the question I get asked more now than what was Starbuck.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's because people love the character.
Yeah.
And
they want to know.
Yeah.
So, and I get it. So, we'll just wait for that movie to come out, and then people will stop asking me.
So you can confirm that you have not been in the armor in 2025.
Jeff, I have not been in the armor this week.
Oh, boy. All right. So if anybody is listening that wants to write a story, if you could just take that, speculate, and write a bunch of articles about it so that people listen to this podcast to...
Only if you tag the Sackhoff show.
Yeah. Just speculate wildly, please.
Yeah, right? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Speaking of superhero stuff, though.
Yeah.
And Star Wars and action, Patrick Sabongui, starting out as a stuntman is so interesting to me, because he doesn't strike me as a person who would be a stuntman. Like, and granted, I've been around so many stunt people in my life, in my career. So even me just saying that he doesn't remind me or look like a stunt person to me is only because I'm lumping everyone into a category, and he and I met on a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Yes.
So in my mind,
he's
like Hallmark Christmas movie Luke.
Yeah, that's how I met him too.
He's a prolific stuntman.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at his IMDb, because when we do these episodes, we put together a little document, and I try to like give you like some things to list off that people might know him from.
Yeah.
And you look at his IMDb or his Wikipedia, and he has been a stuntman in just about like everything you've ever watched.
Absolutely.
And
everything.
also just
absolutely everything.
Yeah.
He is a little bit like, filming in New Mexico and then also being in The Mandalorian. Tate Fletcher is another example of this. And you'll know Tate, he was on the show back when it was blah, blah, blah. MMA fighter turned gym owner turned stuntman turned actor, played Paz Vizsla on Mandalorian. He has been in like every action movie of all time that has shot in New Mexico. And then, also in other places as well. But his face is so recognizable for a very similar reason as Patrick.
Yeah, it was funny because in this episode, it felt like being an actor and working in this industry already is kind of a bit like a traveling circus. But it felt like stunt people in general feel more like a circus, like just the way that you have to like sneak onto set and hustle with the coordinator to try to just like imagine if that's how actors got their work too.
I know. I was blown away by this because Joanna Bennett, who also Mandalorian was my stunt double, one of my stunt doubles. I was surprised that she talked about that as well because it's such a weird part of the industry of stunt performers that you literally, part of your goal is to be tenacious enough to sneak your way onto a set, find a person who looks like the stunt coordinator and basically stalk them until they'll take your resume and then hire you on the next project. And the more you do that and wear them down, the more they like appreciate you. And they're like, all right, you're kind of... I appreciate the tenacity of the of the athlete who wants to be on my job.
I've heard the same thing for like apprenticeships in other jobs. Like your job as a young apprentice is to find the person who you want to mentor you and ask them questions. And the process usually goes, the potential mentor will ignore you, make fun of you, laugh at you, and you just keep doing that until finally they're like, all right, let me show you how to do this thing. And then eventually you get in that thing. And it is sort of this process of elimination to find the people that are really worth spending your time on.
Just like Kung Fu Panda.
Just like Kung Fu Panda. But it's funny to me because in the acting world, showing up with your headshot and just giving it to somebody is like what you're told not to do. Like that's the worst thing you could do.
I know. You know what though? When I first moved to Los Angeles in like 98, it is something that people did, that actors did. They called it, I believe, canvassing. And you would go out, you would print like hundreds of pictures, headshots and resumes. You'd staple them together and you would just go to casting directors' offices and start dropping off your headshot and resume to all these places. But at the same time, I have to say, it always struck me as something that people who didn't have an agent did.
Right. And
because people also did it to agencies. You would go to agencies and drop off your headshot and resume as well to agencies.
Yeah.
So it sort of like was a way to get noticed when you needed.
It makes a little more sense in that way. What wouldn't make sense is if you found a film shoot happening and you walked onto the set and found the director and gave them
arrested.
your headshot. Yeah. And they'd be like, I never want to work with this person. Ever.
You're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Whereas in the stunt world, they need you to be a little fucking crazy.
Yeah. There's a little bit of like, you need to be a risk taker.
Yeah, absolutely.
This.
Patrick, when we were doing Christmas Sale together, I found him to be just so interesting. I really appreciated him. You know, he's just a normal dude. Like he's a normal guy. He's very level-headed. He's a big family man. Like we just really got along. But we also didn't have a lot of time together. I was super busy on that. You know, you shoot a Hallmark movie in 14 days. And I was in every scene.
Yeah.
And like I was so much dialogue and like was also producing and wanted to be there and like, be involved in all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Not to mention my dog was also with me and she was like dying at the time. So I was like,
yeah.
I could not have had more on my plate during that time.
Yeah.
My pug was like literally on death's door.
Oh.
While I was up there. It was horrible. It was horrible.
And you didn't have a chance to talk to him about the animal nature of acting while you were up there.
And I must say I probably would not have been receptive to it at that point.
Yeah.
At that point, I think I was just trying to get through.
Yeah.
Was I already married? I was already married.
You were suffering
had
through that.
Our wedding. I don't remember. I don't remember if we'd already had our wedding. I don't think we'd had our wedding yet, but we were already married. So Robin couldn't leave the country. That's what it was.
Right.
And we were pregnant with Ginny.
Anything else?
And we were renovating a house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like producing a movie that he and I created together, and my dog was dying. Like, it's literally like there couldn't have been more shit.
So
was this
your first chance to actually have a conversation with him?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
pretty much. Yeah.
Interesting guy.
And so it was really nice to talk to him. I find it funny when somebody I know of that I like is also friends with so many of my friends who also really likes them.
Yeah.
You sort of, you know what I mean? Like, like if there's somebody I've met who you come to find out knows 4 of your friends, but none of those friends know each other.
Yeah.
But they all independently know this person and they all independently think this person is a wonderful person.
Yeah.
That happens to me quite a bit. And Patrick is one of those people that it happened with. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good person.
Yeah. It is funny how that happens where you meet somebody and you're like, how have we not met until now?
Yeah.
Because we have all the same friends.
Hunting Party, his new project.
Yeah. Sounds wild.
It was a great script, man.
Yeah. So do you know what were you auditioning for on it?
The lead.
The lead, wow.
The lead. And it wasn't the lead. I didn't audition for it. It was one of those things where it would have been an offer if it was going to be an offer. Maybe I did audition for it. I don't fucking remember at this point. But it just was a really great project. I think I did turn in a tape for it, but it was on a short list.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched any of it yet, but just the pitch is insane.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, what happened? That we didn't kill these people and now they've escaped?
But the new show's great. I hope that they get a pickup for more episodes. It's always nerve-wracking when you're waiting to find out if you've been picked up for more episodes. Teddy Sears right now is also with his show with Zachary Quinto, waiting to hear if they've got their back 9. So, there's lots of people waiting for that order.
And it's on NBC, so I assume it's on Peacock also, right?
Yes, as well. Isn't that also what Teddy's show is on too?
Probably. Let's look.
I think Teddy's show is also on Peacock as well.
Brilliant Minds is the name of the show.
Brilliant Minds.
And it is on Peacock. Yes, also on Peacock. So
see, there you go. So I got 2 friends waiting to hear if their shows have been picked up for the back 9, which is the second half of a 22-order series, if you will. So hopefully that works out for those guys.
It's funny that they're still doing those series that have that many episodes.
Those long orders?
Yeah.
Jeff, I would take one in a heartbeat.
How excited would you be if you could find a lead on a show that shoots in Portland?
Oh my God. There are shows that shoot in Portland, and I feel like I'm like, what the fuck? There's one called like the Criminal or something like that that's shooting here. And
well, you should.
Yeah, I'm like, they obviously don't know that I live here.
You need to go print out your headshot and walk onto the set and start
Could
handing
you imagine? They'll turn me into a stunt person. That is not what I want. My body is too broken for that shit.
Well,
what else do we need to talk about?
Speaking
with
of projects, I noticed you have a trailer came out for a new movie you're in, Fight or Flight.
Fight or Flight.
Do you want anything you want to say about this?
Yeah. So Fight or Flight, movie with Josh Hartnett, comes out May 9th in theaters. Super excited.
Mm-hmm.
This movie's crazy. It's everyone keeps saying bullet train on a plane. It's super
because it sounds cool. Bullet train on a plane.
I think at this point, anytime there's a bunch of fighting on a plane, people are on any mode of transportation, people are going to go bullet plane or bullet train.
They're not doing Air Force One references anymore.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it's it is an adrenaline ride from the moment the movie starts.
And who do you play?
I play a character named Catherine. I am, I don't want to give too much away, but I am Josh's handler in the movie.
You're like...
and this movie shot in Budapest like 2 years ago.
Wow. Even your parts?
All of it.
Oh, yeah. It reminded me of, you look kind of like in The Bourne Identity, how he's got all those handlers that are like always like, it's Jason Bourne, you know?
Yes.
Like the Julia Stiles
Basically,
character.
I'm like Jason Bourne's handler.
Yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah. It is exciting. It's so funny too. I showed up and a lot of my conversations with people are done over phones or over video or blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of it where they were like, oh, you don't need to, we're just going to do this portion in the voiceover booth. You don't need to memorize any of this. And I was like, oh, no. I memorized the whole 40 pages.
Yeah.
Put my face on camera. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the director was really kind. Jim Madigan is really awesome, and I'm really proud of him. And this movie is great. And he was really supportive of the fact that I showed up and worked my butt off to. I was getting rewrites a lot.
Yeah.
And just
how long were you
kept
shooting?
Staying up and memorizing all night long.
How many days were you shooting?
I was there for 14 days.
Wow.
14 days, right before Ginny's first birthday. I got home the day before her birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have, I don't know if you can even say, but do you have other projects that you've shot still that have not come out? Other than the Mandalorian movie, which we've already confirmed that you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that I probably should be better about keeping up with your career, but when I saw
lots of voiceover stuff.
Yeah. When I saw you post that, I was
really
like,
cool voiceover stuff.
Cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, that I also can't talk about.
Yeah.
Because you sign NDAs this long.
You can't publicly talk about it on a podcast. It's the hindsight, Katee. Nobody's listening. It's fine.
It would go down really well. It would go down really well. Let's get into the mail sack.
Let's do it.
Mail sack. We're going to the mail sack. Mail sack. Why are we calling it mail sack?
I'm running out of dance moves, Jeff.
All right. You can reuse them. We never show it.
It's true. You guys, you can email us at thesackhoffshow@gmail.com. We love to see your emails, and we talk about them. So don't be shitty.
Comments on
although
YouTube
I can't
also.
imagine that somebody would want to be shitty in an email knowing that we'll talk about it on the air.
We're not going to say we
haven't. People do shitty comments for, right?
We have got some of those, especially in the
comments. You
comments.
have?
In the comment section more often.
Oh, yeah.
I think the ones that we get in the email are not necessarily shitty, but there are some people who will email like well-meaning things that are not necessarily warranted, and we love the emails, but sometimes we get it. Like, yeah, we know the record player was backwards.
Jeff's never going to let this record player do it. He's never going to let it go.
At this point. And look.
You're never going to let it go. Here's the first
direction.
email, though, Jeff. Let's just get into it. This is an email from Dave. He says, hey, Katee, I just wanted to let you know that Hasbro is releasing the Carson Teva figure. Pre-orders are being taken now. We're going to put the link in the description.
You think that was because of us?
I am, it's funny. Couple things here. I already knew this.
Yeah.
I've purchased a handful of them already. I'm very excited.
Well,
I also got a message from one Paul Sun-Hyun Lee the other day who says, "Thanks for the push to Hasbro on your podcast. I finally got an official figure."
Nice.
All in good jokes, but I do think that we had like a tiny piece in it. I mean, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear that there was a fan desire for this. Whether that had to do with the podcast or not, I think, we can't take credit for Paul being a fan favorite.
No, and Paul is a fan favorite, partially because of Carson Teva, but also because of Paul. Like, people love Paul. He's wonderful. I love Paul as well. Yeah. So I, it doesn't surprise me that he finally got an action figure, and I am so excited. Like I said, it is a pre-order, and I've opened mine, and I'm very excited. So
nice. Yeah. I should probably get one too, since I made it happen.
You probably should. I mean, I may or may not have got you one, but...
Oh, you may or may not have. Okay. solid
I did
cover
not
there.
buy you one in 2024, Jeff.
I see. Now I understand the game. Confirmed.
All right. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming to the show this week. Please come back next week for a new guest, and it's going to be wonderful. But until then, we'll see you next Tuesday, and that's what's up.